here this morning. Just because we're not in the sanctuary, we still gonna lift up the name of God. Amen. Amen. I need the I need thee.
Luke chapter 5, verses 12 through 15. From the New American Standard Bible, the rendering of the text is like this. While he was in one of the cities, behold, there was a man covered with leprosy. And when he saw Jesus, he fell on his face and implored him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And he stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be clean. And immediately the leprosy left him. And he ordered him to tell no one, but go and show yourself to the priest and make an offering for your cleansing, just as Moses commanded as a testimony to them. But the news about him was spreading even further, and large crowds were gathering to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. And the word of God, the people said, Amen. I want to talk and explore the question, who's really at the center of disease control? Dr. Will Mayo, one of the brothers who founded the world-famous Mayo Clinic, claimed to have seen patients that by all human standards were dead. He said, we knew they could not live, but I've seen a minister come to the bedside and do something to them that I could not do, although I had done everything within my professional power. But something touched some immortal spark in them, and in defiance to medical knowledge and materialistic common sense, the patient lived. Dr. Mayo is simply saying that when doctors have done all they could, when medicine has run its course, that there still exist moments and instances when miracles happen. Listen, beloved, there will always exist a tensive dichotomy between medicine and miracles. There's always going to be that tension. It's always going to be that dichotomy between medicine and miracles. In part, it's because the former relies on the natural, whereas the latter involves the supernatural. Medicine is all about the natural, but miracles are about the supernatural. But most relevant to our concern today is the fact that medicine comes from the mind of man, but miracles come from the mercy of the Master. When it all boils down, medicine is a product of man's mind, but miracles are a result of the mercy of the Master. And don't get me wrong, although they both can work in tandem with one another, the question at hand is, when healing happens, who's really at the center of disease control? Who's really at the CDC? For if it is man and his medicine, it seems as though we believe it's man and his medicine oftentimes because we put our faith in that for our healing. In fact, we put faith in man and medicine more than we trust the Master for his mercy, even if he opts against a miracle. Think about it. We trust medicine. We trust medicine. We oftentimes will trust the doctor to write a prescription we can't read. Take it to a pharmacist whom we don't know. To fill a prescription with medication we don't understand. And will, by faith, go home and take the medicine and trust that it will work. But when it comes to God being merciful, when it comes to trusting God is able to work miracles, we tend to have less faith in the Master than we do in man. We tend to have less trust in his mercy and miracles than we do in medicine. And so it begs the question, if there is no miracle, is it safe to say that it's the man and the medicine who's at the center controlling the disease? If you've taken the medicine and the medicine seems to be working, can you give man the credit? Can you account that it's the medicine that's in the middle of and at the center of controlling this disease? I raise this concern and consideration today, given that we are now in a rush to find a treatment, even a cure for the dreaded COVID-19 virus. But not just with that, we've been doing that for years with other diseases. We've been trying and chasing a medical cure for cancer, a medical treatment for heart disease, all kinds of viruses and ailments. We've been looking for man and medicine to control the disease that infects our bodies. For many believe that the only way to return to some semblance of the formal normality is if man can formulate a medication that can cure or at least counter the effects of this dreaded disease. Once again, my brothers and sisters, I believe we can find some helpful insight about this from another report from the Lepers files. The Lepers files, those same files that we've been reviewing over the past few Sundays. We've already learned a lot, haven't we? We've already learned about getting clean in quarantine. We've also learned how important it is of getting clean in dirty water. But today's episode out of this Lepers file, it reminds us of who it is that is really and truly and authentically at the center of disease control. I'm not suggesting that we don't chase medication and we don't utilize it. I'm going to get into all of that. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to healing, when it comes to controlling disease, who's really the one at the center of disease control? Well, I see a couple of you starting to nod, so let me go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. It's Jesus. It's Jesus who's at the center of disease control. He was at the center then, and it's Jesus who's still at the center now. It may seem as though man is making strides and doing some things, but as Dr. Mayo said, there's some things medicine just cannot do. There's some things medicine just cannot control, but Jesus is still at the center of disease control. So, for the remainder of our time together today, let's just highlight, if you will, the key evidence in this record that validates what I've just said, that validates this conclusion that Jesus is still the one who's really at the CDC. Just looking at the text, the first two verses really unpacks the majority of what we want to deal with today. First of all, notice in verse 12 that man is off center. Man can't be at the center because man is off center. In fact, notice that verse 12 reveals that man is off center when it comes to controlling diseases. Because being off center, notice what it does. And notice what it did in that verse. It exposes our condition. It moves us to contrition. And it requires our concession. Are you walking with me? It exposes our condition. It moves us to contrition. And it requires our concession. Let me unpack that a little bit. Notice the condition. It says that there was a man covered with leprosy. He was covered with leprosy. There's a point, my brothers and sisters, when a disease can overwhelm your human ability. In essence, it exposes our condition as only human. We've got to remember that, brothers and sisters, that when disease comes, what it's doing, it's reminding us that you're not God. You're not God. You're not immortal. You're not invincible. We all are susceptible to disease. And when disease comes, whatever form it may come in, however it may infect our body, even if it's just a common cold, it's reminding you of your limited human ability. You can't just will yourself better. You can't stop it from coming, because there are those who've taken vaccines and it's still infiltrated their bodies. They've gone through all the medical practices. They prayed about it. You fasted about it. You cried about it. But it still invaded your body because it's going to expose your condition as a human being who's susceptible to disease. I think all of us have been sick at some point in our lives. If you haven't, as the old folks say, keep on living. Sickness will come. Disease will infect us. But know that it came to expose your condition. But then notice that it didn't stop there. Once your condition is exposed and it exposes the limitations of your humanity, watch this, it ought to move you to a posture of humility. Once it exposes your humanity, it should bend you in humility. That's the contrition we were talking about. Notice what happened when his condition was exposed. Then the Bible says his contrition was this: when he saw Jesus, he fell on his face and implored him. Recognize that disease and death, that all they are byproducts of a sinful nature. That's why we get sick and that's why we die, because we have a sinful nature. Therefore, a contrite and repentant heart is the first dose of medicine that we should take when we have a disease that's out of control. I know we don't like to tie the two together, our sinful life and our sickness in our body. And you may not be able to draw a straight line from one to the other. But if you go all the way back to the Garden of Eden, the reason we get sick, the reason we die is because we have sin in this world and in our nature. And so when you get sick, I know you're going to pray and ask the Lord to heal you. But before you ask him to heal you, ask him to forgive you. Show some humility. The leper understood that even if medicine could help his condition, medicine couldn't do anything to help his sinful heart. The only one who could cure both his body and his soul was the one who was really at the center of disease control. And so that's when, after his condition had been exposed and he was moved to contrition, that's when it then resulted in his concession. Notice what his concession was. He said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. This disease riddled leper conceded. He conceded to Christ's prerogative and to his power. Do you see it? His prerogative. He admits that it's not always the will of God to heal us from our diseases. I know you think that every sickness and disease is supposed to be eradicated in the name of Jesus, but just because he has the power doesn't mean it fits in his purpose. I know that's hard to swallow, and it's difficult for us to digest that it just may not be his prerogative to heal you from this disease. And maybe he is allowing it to run its course in you so that someone else might turn to him. You don't know what his prerogative is. You don't know what his purpose is. Even though he has the power, you also have to acknowledge his prerogative. Too often we forget that his ways are not like our ways, and his thoughts are not like our thoughts. It's his prerogative. It's his sovereignty to heal or not to heal. And for whatever reason, he sent this COVID-19 virus into our world. It has to serve God's purpose before he moves to control this disease. So understand that man's medicine can only do so much, and man's medicine can only take us so far. And although it gets us close to controlling diseases, it still falls short of putting man and medicine at the center of disease control. There is no medication on this planet that truly controls disease. Because you know what happens? They give you the medicine, they do the surgery, they do whatever they're going to do, and then they take you to a place called recovery. You know what I've come to realize recovery is? God, do what you're going to do, because I've done what I can do. Recovery is just you sitting there waiting to see how God is going to control whatever is ailing you. And so that's why we must admit, as they did in verse 13, we must admit and concede that it's really Christ who's at the center of disease control. And so that's what verse 13 unveils. It unveils, here's what it unveils. If verse 12 unveiled that man is off center, verse 13 reveals that Christ is dead center. Yeah. Verse 13, it shows that because Christ is truly at the center of controlling disease, there will be at his will and his power three things. One, actions taken, affirmations given, and absolution granted. Are you still walking with me? Verse 13 unveils that there will be actions taken, affirmations given, and absolution granted. Look at the text. Action that was taken. You notice this. It says that he stretched out his hand and touched him. Listen, know that the progress and the potency of any disease is controlled by the hand of God. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because no disease is bigger than the hand of God. Have you ever tried to carry a bunch of things, but your hands just weren't big enough, and you ended up dropping some of them, and some of them rolling out of your hands, or it got out of control, and you're jumbling and fumbling with it until it finally falls away and gets out of your control? There is no sickness, no disease, no circumstance, no situation that is too big for God to handle with just his hand. I don't even think you have to put both hands on it. In fact, the text says he stretched out his singular hand and touched him. So he controls disease. He controls disease with his hand. That's the action that was taken. But then there was an affirmation given. Notice that he says, I am willing, be clean. He gave the action, then he gave the affirmation. Isn't that interesting? I found that interesting, that the action came before the affirmation. Okay, let me put it on a pew near you. He touched before he talked. He moved before you even got the message. What does all that mean? It means that even in his silence, Christ has every sickness and disease under control. Yes, he has every sickness and every disease under control. And God has his hand on it, even though he has not yet verbally responded to your prayer request. They prayed, they asked him, they said, Lord, we know if you're willing, you're able to do it. You're able to clean us. And the Bible teaches us that he took action before he gave affirmation. He touched before he talked. And my brothers and my sisters, it may seem as though the disease is out of control and you're waiting to get a word from the Lord. Don't wait to get a word. Go ahead and praise him, because he's already working. He's already working. He's already working. He's already working. He has this COVID-19 under control. He's already working. He's already working. He's working on cancer. He got it under control. He's already working. He got it under control. Yes, he hasn't spoken yet. Man is doing what they could do, but man, we already know you're off center. So we've got to find a way to trust God, even when he's silent on the subject. So actions were taken, affirmations were given, finally absolution was granted. The text says, verse 13 says, and immediately the leprosy left him. Listen, when the Lord frees us from a disease, we are freed indeed. We're freed indeed. We're freed indeed. Listen, sometimes he may send your healing through medicine. So sometimes he'll do that. He'll send your healing through medicine. Sometimes it'll come through a miracle. But here's the heavy one. Here's the heavy one. Sometimes God's cure from a disease is given as mercy through death. Sometimes he'll heal you through medicine. Yes, he'll work in tandem with the medication and allow that medication to work on your behalf. It's still Christ at the middle of it and at the center of it. He just chose to work through the medicine. There are times he will bypass the medicine and work a miracle, where he will raise you from your sickness and human minds cannot even explain it. It defies all logic. It defies all natural law. It defies all of our rationality. God can heal you through medicine. He can heal you through a miracle. But watch this, he can also heal you through mercy. He says, because even if I raise this body up, you're still going to be living in hell. So I'm going to be merciful to you and transition you. Yes, the healing and freedom from the infection of illness, to removal other illness, and the removal from this corruptible body and this sinful world. Sometimes that's his option. And he does it only to give us an immortal body in an eternal world. Sometimes that's his choice. And I know we miss our loved ones. I know we're afraid to leave this world, but sometimes that's God's mercy to take us out of this world. Even with that disease. That disease didn't take you out. Sin did. And remember, all have sinned, fall short of the glory of God. By one man's sin entered into the world, and by sin death has been passed unto all. Y'all still in the book? It's appointed unto every man once to die, and then judgment. We all have to die. But regardless of however the liberty from sickness and disease come, know that it came under the controlling hand of our God. That's really what I wanted to share with you today, my brothers and sisters. Who's really at the center of disease control? It's our Christ. I know we think this COVID-19 is out of control, and I know we think the brilliant minds of our day is working on it, and I applaud them, and I think they're doing a great job, but they have limited ability. They may have some might, but God is all might. They may have some omniscience, but God is omniscient. So then, I believe we can presently affirm what the lepers file here previously reported. And that is that Jesus is still at the center of disease control. And we are not. It's hard for us to grasp that at times. But when disease comes in your body, in whatever form it may be, I think that's our cue to remember what our condition is. Have contrition and humble ourselves at the limitation of our humanity. And offer concession, saying, Jesus, I submit to your prerogative and to your power. And in due season, he's going to take action. He's going to give affirmation. And he'll even give absolution. And so, because of the fact that we know that he's at the center and we're not, that being the case, what can we do? The only thing we can really do when disease is clearly out of our control, and that is what the people did in verse 15 of this story. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to be done. Listen, all they did and all we can do is surround Jesus in order to hear him and be healed by him. Are you in the book? It says the news spread about him spread even further than they expected, and large crowds were gathering to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. Listen, my brothers and sisters, We're gathering for all other reasons. Why aren't we gathering around Jesus to hear him and to be healed by him? We're protesting and marching and rioting for what we think we want. When was the last time we all marched around the throne of God to hear him and to be healed by him? Isn't that what Solomon told us and what God told Solomon? Listen, if my people, which are called by my name, would just come and surround me and hear me, I will hear from heaven and heal their land. So be on notice. COVID-19. Jesus is at the center of disease control. Hey, cancer, I stopped by to let you know. Jesus is at the center of disease control. High blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, whatever's ailing you, whatever's hurting you, whatever's harming you, tell them Jesus is at the CDC. Medicine may not have a grip on you, but the master has his hands on you. And that's why, my brothers and sisters, we ought to be able to praise him in spite of what it looks like. It doesn't matter how it seems, God is still in control. That's why I haven't lost my mind in all of this, because I believe God is still in control. No matter what happens, no matter what it looks like, God, anybody in here believe that God has his hand